This is a Standard Nerds podcast.
How'd you like me now?
Hello and welcome to How Do You Like Me Now, episode 3. I'm your host Will, and with me as always is Liz. Hello Liz.
Hi Will.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you very much.
Good. Right, well, this is our third episode, Liz, and it's my pick. So,
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous actually.
really?
Yeah, because you haven't told me
Nope.
yet what you're going to be picking, but you've kind of teased the idea that I may know nothing about it whatsoever.
I think, I may be prejudging, but I don't think this is something you watched as a kid. Certainly, I don't think it's something you've ever spoken to me about.
Okay, so when you tell me, instead of the usual me telling you what I remember about it, I may just have to make some stuff up.
Yep. I'm going to ask you first of all, is there anything okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you.
And then I can say what I think it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the best way forward for this. Okay, so episode 3, we are going to be watching an absolute classic cartoon, one of my favourites growing up, M.A.S.K.
Okay.
Now, Liz, did you ever watch M.A.S.K. growing up?
No, and do you know what? I was certain that whatever you said, I would have a reaction to. I was certain I'd be like, oh yeah, I kind of remember like a picture of that. It was on the other side and I didn't watch it. And you've just said mask,
Yep.
and I have nothing. I am blank.
Okay, well, I mean, given that the title is M.A.S.K., what do you think the show's going to be about, Mark?
Okay, so I'm guessing it's not Son of Mask.
It's
'Cause
not.
I remember the Jim Carrey film The Mask, and there was like an animated show of that, wasn't there?
There is. It's nothing related to that at all.
No, so I'm imagining that there'll still be a mask that maybe gives the wearer powers.
Okay,
I'm assuming it's a cartoon.
it is a cartoon.
Okay, so I got one thing right.
I think I might have said it was a cartoon before.
Yeah, okay, so I won't sulk. So a mask. It's not called masks. So I'm guessing one character who wears a mask. It gives them powers. I'm thinking in a kind of superhero vein, maybe in a kind of Power Rangers way, in that they go really, really big at some stage. I don't know why I think that. Just that seemed to happen a lot. I'm guessing it will be quite boyish and I'll hate it.
I love that you've got all of this off the word mask.
That's what I've got.
Well, I mean, I think there's some elements of that which actually you've got pretty close to the
Come
nub
on,
of it.
tell me then. Tell
Okay,
me what you remember of it.
Right, what I remember about M.A.S.K. Basically, M.A.S.K. was a cartoon series about a group of friends who all fought a criminal syndicate. They basically all wore masks that went over their, like, basically almost like hoods, went over their whole head.
So they all wear masks.
They all wear masks.
So it should be called masks.
It should be called masks. It's called M.A.S.K. And
I've
basically,
been misled.
they all drove vehicles, but all these vehicles would transform into another thing.
But how did I know that?
So the leader of the good guys, and I can't
I
remember
knew
his
there'd
name.
be a getting big thing. I knew there'd be a getting big thing.
Doesn't necessarily get big. He drives like a sports car, and the wings open up gull wing style, and it turns into like a jet.
Okay, a jet is bigger than a car.
Okay, well, this is like a car-sized
Getting
jet.
big.
Well, this doesn't get like bigger. This is basically like the doors open up, and those are the wings. That's
It's
it.
the same shit, Will. Transformers, Power Rangers, all that shit. It was like getting big. I just don't care.
Okay.
Right, go on.
Right,
Go on.
but basically they were fighting this criminal force called Venom. Okay, and Venom had far fewer people. They also had masks, and they also drove vehicles that could turn into other vehicles.
That were bigger than the original vehicles?
They weren't big in the original vehicles. Some of them are smaller than the other vehicles.
What?
Like one of them is a Jeep, and out of this Jeep fires out like a jet ski that the driver sits in.
Oh, it's more like Thunderbirds.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of more like Thunderbirds.
I liked Thunderbirds.
Well, you might like this.
Maybe I'm back on board.
There's a kid in it who is the son of like the leader of the good guys.
Son of Mask?
Son of Mask. He doesn't have a mask.
Well,
What he does have is a robot sidekick
okay.
that turns into a moped,
Right.
and the robot sidekick is called T-Bob.
You remember a lot about
I
this.
do remember a lot about this show. This is...
Have you been rewatching this on
I
the side?
haven't been rewatching this on the side, no. I have rewatched this as an adult previously, but it's been a
Oh.
long time since I've watched it.
Okay.
So there's only bits and pieces. I can remember a fair bit of it, I think, and I remember I've got like quite strong images of it in my mind.
T-Bob?
T-Bob, yes.
Wow.
But, I mean, I think there is... an extra thing about T-Bob that if you've watched M.A.S.K, you will know what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to tell Liz because I want to leave it for Liz to find out.
It's an accent, isn't it?
It's not an accent.
Has he got a wild accent?
It's not an accent. I mean,
Okay.
he has, but it's not that. I'm going to leave that for you to discover the first time because I feel that I would ruin it by me telling you in advance
Oh,
of watching.
wow. Yeah, I
what
wouldn't
it's
want you
gonna
to
be.
ruin it.
Not at all. So that's what I remember. I remember it was energetic. It was high octane. It had one of the best intro songs of all time.
Okay.
It had a fantastic like.
Are you
80s...
going to sing it for me now?
No.
You sang the last one. Pottsworth and Company, you had a go. You sang it like Pottsworth and Company, do. So I think you could go have a go at this one.
Okay. M.A.S.K Crusaders working overtime all the time, fighting crime. So they worked overtime all the time and they fought crime.
Wow.
Right.
I'm excited.
Thank you. Right. The energy I put into that, I hope, is reflective of how good this is. I mean, obviously I can't do like synth-driven parts. But this was, I really, really liked the show as a kid, and I really hope this is going to hold up well.
I think if you've rewatched it as an adult, you know that it holds up for you.
Yeah.
And you are hoping that I don't completely trash it.
No, in many ways, I'm kind of hoping you do completely trash it, so I can argue the toss against
Maybe
you.
that's the best we can hope for.
But there we are. So, yeah, that's this week. We're going to be watching M.A.S.K. Fortunately, some genius has uploaded about 70-odd episodes of this in full onto YouTube.
This is quite a long-running one, then.
It did have quite a long
How
run.
did I miss this?
I think it maybe wasn't in your oeuvre of whatever of things that you watched.
I was just watching The Queen's Nose or something. Yeah. Okay.
Another classic show. So we're going to go away now, and I'm going to treat you to some episodes of M.A.S.K.
I cannot wait.
And we will report back. Duncan, I'm blind. And we're back. So we've just watched 2 episodes from series 1 of M.A.S.K. Liz, what did
How
you
many
think?
series were
There
there?
were 2 series of M.A.S.K.
Okay, good.
Right, but I should put this out there. Series 1 had 65 episodes in it. Yeah.
Did we watch all of them?
No, we watched only 2 of them.
Wow.
And series 2 had 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So
that seems right.
There was a bit of a shift in focus.
What was that then?
Well, basically, series 1 is all about M.A.S.K Crusaders working overtime, fighting crime.
I got that, yeah.
Yeah, just to be absolutely clear, because going back to the intro, lays out very clearly they are M.A.S.K Crusaders working overtime, so this is not their regular job.
No.
Fighting crime, and just in case you missed that, fighting crime.
Yeah. What's series 2 about?
Series 2 is about broadly the same thing, but there's much more racing, and basically their plan is to stop Venom rigging races.
Yeah, kind of a...
So it kind of turns into like a wacky
downturn.
races thing.
Would you like me to review this for you in 2 words?
Absolutely.
Poundland Transformers.
How dare you!
I thought it was lackluster.
For shame. I love this.
Yes, you do, don't you?
I do love it. I loved it then. I love it again now.
I honestly was perplexed because it's very much of a type, that kind of kids animation with there's baddies, there's goodies, there's lots of explosions and powers and all that kind of stuff, and yet literally nobody in this has a personality.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no personality. There are no characters to like. There is...
What? Whoa. Hold on. Hold the phone. Okay, the characters, I might admit, are pretty one-dimensional.
I don't even think they have one dimension.
Let's talk about it. Okay, let's go through some of these. There's Bruce Sato, who drives Rhino, which is the big rig.
I think who you're talking about there is offensive Asian stereotype.
Okay, Bruce Sato,
Yes.
who is there to drop some occasional, mysticism.
I did, yes, exactly. Occasional mysticism, i.e., offensively Asian. that thing that Americans think, which is because I can't be bothered to listen to accents, that Asian people make no sense. That, probably, how do we tell that he's Asian? Make him sound like Confucius. Because that is what a young Asian man who works with us, it would definitely speak like.
I mean, I would, I thought that I could see that, but when we got into the second of the episodes that we watched, where they're in Japan,
yes.
Bruce Sato seems tame by comparison.
That's true, but only because, right, the accents in that episode were off the charts. Like, if you've got an older relative who occasionally does a very offensive, racist Japanese voice, where they mess about on Christmas, do their offensive, wacky Japanese voice that really belongs in the 70s, right? That's probably a better accent than this episode had.
They would do a sharp intake of breath at this episode, like, oh, that's not right.
The accents in that episode were unbelievable.
I mean, there's this. This is going back, obviously.
Unbelievable.
This was a cartoon series.
Yeah.
That, like Transformers, was created to sell toys. Basically created a line of toys and then created a cartoon series to sell these toys to kids.
Yeah.
And this is the best way to sell toys to kids in the 80s, was create a cartoon around it. Rather than create a cartoon and then create the toys, then the cartoon around it. So
really what you're saying is that if I don't like the characters, I could always enjoy the cars and vehicles, except that all of those are generic as well.
Generic? How dare you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
They
they
literally transform.
No, Transformers transform. These adapt slightly.
It's like, it doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Slightly adapters.
Slightly adapters would have been an accurate title for this show. Okay, so sorry, in your lovable cast of characters, so far we've got the offensive Asian. Who else do you like in the cast of characters?
There's Hondo McLean, which is just a fantastic name.
Was he the one in a band?
No.
Who plays the guitar?
No, I think that was Buddy Hawks.
Okay, Buddy Hawks is like... It seemed like the sex appeal. He wears sunglasses, he plays rock music.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about. Who the fuck is Hondo?
Hondo McLean. I think Hondo McLean was meant to be like the Native American one.
What? Okay,
I'm getting that from the name Hondo. Did
he have any lines?
I don't know if he did in this one.
Right, okay.
He might have just said like the name of his power.
So the Native American one, and we are in the time of tokenism here.
God, yeah, absolutely, we are.
Pretty bad right? Example
there's
of
an
it.
Asian American, there's a Native American, there's an English guy, there's a guy from the Deep South, there's a woman, there's
a woman,
Gloria Baker.
Yeah, I didn't like her. She had almost no lines. Well, actually, hardly any of them did, because there are far too many characters. I think I've written down Hondo as generic guy, because I don't remember anything about him.
Okay, Hondo, he didn't really have much to do there, but he drove Firecracker, which was like the pickup truck, I think. You also had Dusty Hayes, who was the southerner who drove Gator.
Right, Dusty Hayes, yeah. Again, another generic guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't even sure how many generic guys there were. The guy with the big ginger beard.
Alex Sector, the British guy.
He's British.
He's the systems operator for Rhino. He's the only one whose mask doesn't cover the bottom part of his face.
Yeah.
Which I feel is a pretty bad mask, because that's quite a distinctive beard.
No, it isn't, Will. You know why? Because there's so many fucking characters, and they all look the same. And then what's worse, they all put on masks. You can't tell who these people are. And they go and fight the baddies, all of whom are also wearing masks.
These are secret organisations. They're meant to be wearing masks.
Yeah, but why couldn't, all the baddies' masks be, gold? So then I would know that they were the baddies.
All the baddies' masks were, dark blue and grey.
No, they weren't.
They
They're
were.
all colours.
No.
All colours.
I think you're confusing some of the goodies with some of the baddies.
You know what? You're exactly right. That's my fucking point. I couldn't tell who anyone was. You can't tell who anyone is. It's ridiculous.
You wait till we get onto Transformers in this.
What do you mean? I'm not watching Transformers
You
for
are
you.
definitely.
Not after this. Okay, so the lead guy
Matt Tracker.
is a square.
Matt Tracker is like Adam West meets Jeff Tracy meets Jim Phelps.
Yes, but somehow less interesting. And I mean, Jim Phelps isn't that interesting. No, he's like, yeah, I definitely got Adam West vibes with the voice occasionally, but he reminded me most of the character that Nicolas Cage plays in Kick-Ass.
Yes.
In that he might think he's amusing.
He's got that laconic kind of...
It's just boring everybody else to tears.
Okay. I would say that the guy who did the voice for Matt Tracker did the voices for like easily half the characters, most of the characters in each episode, which must have been pretty unsettling when you are in the voice booth and you're doing all the conversation with yourself.
That's really putting all your eggs in one basket, isn't it? If you've got an actor who has no charisma and no ability to act, and you ask him to do all of the voices...
Oh, shame!
Honestly, Will, I have never watched anything with so little character. Like, they could have... Oh my goodness, it was terrible.
Right, but this is about... Again, this goes back to the thing. This is a show meant to sell toys. You don't want
but you wouldn't buy toys because the trucks are as boring as the characters.
Oh my god, I can't believe you.
What's one cool feature about those trucks?
Let's take the car. Let's take Thunderhawk, Matt's racing car, that opens up and turns into a jet.
Okay, in the second episode, so we've already watched one, I've written down, who the fuck is Thunderhawk?
That's his car.
Okay, so the names are of the cars.
Yeah.
They're not like pseudonyms.
No.
I thought they were like gladiators. Like... I've written down people code name, right? So, like, Bruce was Rhino.
No, Bruce drove Rhino.
Bruce drove Rhino?
Yeah, Bruce drove Rhino. Alex was the tech systems operator for Rhino. He's there on the back doing the phones.
So there's two guys in Rhino, like a pantomime horse.
That's first. There were three.
Three guys in Rhino. This is a kind of crazy party.
Because Matt was in there as well. And actually... There are even more than that because you also had T-Bob and Scott, and we haven't even talked about T-Bob yet.
How many guys were in Gloria?
Whoa. Whoa
none, because she's boring as fuck. Okay, can I...
Gloria, she's a black belt in karate. She's like an extreme racing driver.
I couldn't pick her out of a lineup. We'll get on to T-Bob.
She's the only one.
No, she isn't, because can I talk to you about my favourite character?
Yep.
On the baddies, right... Who is the most fuckable character? Well, she's a red-headed woman.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's hot.
She's hot. She's hot.
She is hot.
And, like, to a point where I was like, that shouldn't be in a kid's cartoon. Like, that's too hot. Also, when we first got together, I had red hair.
Yeah.
And you had a thing for redheads. And I feel like this show might have made an impression on you.
I mean, this could be a start of it. This could be like a formative part of my youth.
This is a formative part of your youth. I tell you what occurred to me also, as to why you may personally like it. So I'm going to personally attack you right now.
Whoa, okay.
Because
all right,
I mean, not an attack, like a call out. I'm going to call you out, right? You like bad jokes.
Yeah, I love bad jokes.
You like the kind of pantomime bad jokes that make me want to curl up and die.
Yeah.
And all of the script for this reads like Roger Moore quips that were rejected from lesser Bond films.
Yes.
You know, oh, that's electrifying when there's some electric around, you know. Oh, let's throw some light on the situation. I got a bang out of it. All of it is just that kind of level of, it's almost a pun. It's
like these are rejected lines from A View to a Kill.
Yeah, exactly. The entire script is full of them.
It's like you took the script to all those Roger Moore Bond movies and showed it to me and went, I'm not saying that. And they went, all right, well, let's make this cartoon.
This is all the bits they left out. Yeah. You know, these were all left on the cutting room floor. They scraped them all together and they went, we could just throw some cartoon characters on this, and it would be, it doesn't need to make sense. It's for kids.
But see, kids love stupid jokes, and kids love like puns.
You love stupid jokes.
Yeah, and a lot of kids do as well.
Some kids do. I didn't.
Okay, well, this maybe wasn't the cartoon for you, but
I'm not saying, everything I liked as a kid was highbrow, but at least it made sense. This makes no sense.
This makes a lot of...
What was the plot of the first episode?
The plot of the first episode, which was Highway of Terror, and that's an excellent episode name, anyway.
Yeah, although it didn't really get me going when they started the episode, the army were on the highway, and the main baddie is just there in a rocking chair.
Miles Mayhem, which is a cool baddie name.
Oh, I thought his name was Venom.
No, Venom is the organisation.
Oh, for goodness sake. See, I thought Venom, that's a cool name for a baddie. Marvel may have done it or whatever, but that is a cool name. Miles Mayhem, that doesn't suit him at all. I've got him down as Big Tash, which I think is a much better name.
I mean, no, he was, Miles Mayhem, and Venom, which is his criminal organisation. Venom is an acronym for Vicious Evil Network of Mayhem.
So, what I previously didn't realise is that M.A.S.K is also an acronym.
Yes, it is.
As well as being the theme, because all of them wear masks. So what does M.A.S.K stand for?
Mobile Armoured Strike Command.
Command
With a K.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
That's about the level of this show.
Okay, all right. I take it that's a bit of a stretch.
It's a stretch.
To spell command with a K. But that's just a willing suspension of disbelief. But Vicious Evil Network of Mayhem, that's actually a more accurate description because it is a vicious and evil network that belongs to Mayhem.
Who calls themselves an evil network of mayhem? Or did the other ones name Venom? They're like, you're called Venom now. Like, okay, sounds pretty cool.
I think O2 are a vicious evil network of Mayhem. But
yes, that's true. No, seriously, right? The baddies were not compelling because it's as much as I loved Redhead. Do you know her name, by the way?
I don't know Redhead's name. They didn't really get into the names of the
no, because all the baddies seem cool. I've written down Redhead. There's Big Tash, who's Miles Mayhem. Small Tash, who's just younger.
Yeah.
And then I've just called the other one Inexplicable Beret.
Inexplicable Beret, I believe, it didn't come up in these episodes, but I believe is Miles Mayhem's son.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like an intriguing story that I'd love to hear someday. Anyway, so yeah, the baddies are... I couldn't really root against them because the episode goes on, their aims are not really clear apart from Mayhem, I get that, right? And then just towards the end... I suppose it's fitting in that it's all M.A.S.K themed, but he just does this kind of Scooby-Doo style... I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you people. But he does that every episode. Yeah. Imagine if Scooby-Doo, just everywhere they went, was the same dickhead wearing the same mask. And they're just like, well, it's you again, isn't it? And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll have to fuck off then.
Well, that was basically the plot of Inspector Gadget.
Well, I never watched that either.
What? Okay, well, Inspector Gadget's going on this list.
Okay.
But
at least he had gadgets. The masks. Oh, the masks are terrible. How specific are those powers?
So specific. They
Even
are.
You have to admit to me right now. You have to admit, the masks, the powers too specific.
What I love about this is it's very much like Mission Impossible in that basically he gets a little bit of information at the start, or even there's just a mystery and he's like, computer, who's ideal for this mission? And they turn up and they've got the exact skills needed. Exact skills and powers.
Just for the young'uns, we're talking original Mission Impossible, the TV show, not the car crash with Tom Cruise, who's a terrible person. We're talking about the original TV show where Jim Phelps, he would get the little recording and they would say, this is your mission, and then they'd say, this tape will self-destruct, and it would set itself on fire. One time he just threw it in a river when the budget was low. It's a bit of trivia for you. Anyway, and then he would go home and he would look through his file and he would choose all the people he needed. And it was always the same people every week because those were the stars that they had on contract.
So he'd always discard a couple of portraits of, like, the crew.
Yes, which were in black and white because they didn't want to spend the budget there. And, yeah, so it has that setup. because clearly the people that were making this probably watched that as kids, and they're like, that's a cool setup. We could have loads of different people and a cartoon characters, so we don't, and we pay the same actor to do all the same voices for them, so we don't need to, we can mix it up, have different people every week. That's a great idea in theory, except it just means you can't tell who anyone is because there's about 25 characters. They've all got the same face. They've all got the same voice. You can only identify them by giving them characteristics such as being a woman. And I can't remember anyone. I can't remember anyone.
See, but this is the thing, You're watching this in retrospect.
Apart from the ones I wanted to fuck.
Well, we can all remember those ones. A small section of this you're remembering, you're watching. Okay, but as a kid, obviously you had the toys which had all the things that you had. There was a comic as well.
Did you actually have toys from
I
this?
had a couple of toys from this, I recall. I think I had Thunderhawk, I had Matt's car, and I think a friend of mine...
He's the boring one, right?
I think a friend of mine had Rhino, which was the big rig. The big rig also turned, as well as having like the laser cannons, also turned into like a mobile battle platform. Like the front would open up and it flipped round and everything else, and so it would transform into another thing.
It feels like those toys would have been just as cool without them having to make this terrible show.
They would have been cool, but you need the show to give it the lore. But this is
The lore!
The lore!
Oh my god, he's just said that! Oh my god, he's just said that. The lore.
There was a comic tie-in as well that obviously added some canon to this tale.
Canon and lore.
And the comic reputedly laid out that the way this happened was Matt Tracker, his brother Andy Tracker, which sounds like the name for a budget GPS system, and Miles Mayhem jointly created all the masks and all the vehicles, and then Miles Mayhem betrayed them, nicked half their stuff, blew up the other half, and went off and created Venom, and killed Andy Tracker in the process. So this is the thing like about kid stuff from the time, and the same thing is true of like Transformers and like the tie-ins to like Streets of Rage and these kind of things, where actually the comics are a lot more violent than the TV show.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I did like about the masks is when they're all assembled, this gang, the masks come down on a kind of mask carousel.
They do, but I'll tell you something about this, and this is the problem I do have.
Is it only in that one episode?
No, that happens quite a lot. It's in the intro. It's in the introduction.
Right.
They all sit around a table, and the table then raises up about 50 feet into another room, and then the masks come down. That just seems like just wasted space. Why don't you just have one come down, have the table sit where it is, or the table come up to the masks, rather than have the table come up and the masks come down?
If I had one criticism to make about the show, it would not be implausible architecture.
It's not implausible. It's just unnecessary.
Okay. So that seemed cool, the mask carousel. I was on board with that, but that's the only bit that you've criticised. Because
there's very little I will criticise about this.
Apparently
because this is an excellent show.
It reminded me of like when Captain Planet, they all get their, they have rings, don't they?
Yeah. They
all get their rings, so then they get their powers. Or like when the Power Rangers, they do the little suiting up montage. It had that kind of the Go Team vibe.
Yeah.
So I like that bit.
Yeah. I'm going to say something now which I think will probably irritate you.
Okay.
They all do have masks, and you could see there are differences in the masks, so you can tell them apart. I think you missed it, but Matt, in the first episode that we watched, is wearing a different mask to the second episode, and sometimes they do change up masks.
Wow. I did miss that, because there were already about 15 masks, and I had not memorised the masks.
No.
Okay? This must be purely made for little boys who've got those kind of, obsessions. They get, obsessed, and they want to memorise everything.
I'm going to collect stuff, yeah.
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 To the casual viewer, incomprehensible nonsense. I could not... There's so many masks. If I had known they had different masks in different episodes, I would have been even angrier.
And different vehicles.
Okay, you're just riling me. You're trying to rile me, but I've gone too far now. I've reached a limit with it.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit about the episodes we did watch. So we watched Highway of Terror.
Yes,
the plot of that.
I have one thing to say to you.
Go on.
Penetrator on.
They do have all the masks basically have a single function.
Yeah.
And in order to activate that, you have to say the name bit and on. So there's lift off on, backlash on, penetrator on. And okay, grant you, there shouldn't be one called penetrator.
There was one called Aura as well.
Aura,
I think.
yeah.
Aura on.
Aura, which the function of Aura seemed to be to tie up loose electrical cables and stop them sparking.
Yes, when I said they were too specific, I meant it. I think, the Highway of Terror one was probably the plot of that had already made me angry because it's kind of like he's stealing army vehicles. He's got this huge underground place under the army base, and they don't realise.
Oh no, it was under the road.
Yeah, okay, it was under the road.
The plot basically.
I don't think we want to know the plot.
No, I think we want to know the plot. The plot of Highway to Terror is that Venom steals some plutonium to power an earthquake machine.
Oh yeah, the earthquake machine.
Yeah. Destroy major cities with earthquakes. The purpose
Why
for
does he
this,
want to do
Matt Tracker theorises that he wants to do this to increase their profile.
Increase their profile.
They can increase their profile.
Increase their profile.
And I think this goes to the heart of one of the problems, and it is a slight problem with this. This was created, as I say, to sell the toys. The issue is they didn't quite figure out what the baddies were going to be doing, other than they were going to be baddies. So throughout the first series, it's a mix between just random destruction, crime, racketeering,
always with Venom and this Miles Mayhem.
And Miles Mayhem, yeah.
Yeah, this is why I say he's got a different motive every week, but the same masks. It's like reverse Scooby-Doo.
But I would argue what his motive is, because his motive in this one is just to create some earthquakes under some cities for no other reason than to raise the profile of Venom, which, I mean, that'll work.
Yeah.
But only if you tell people that's what you're doing. It seems to be he's doing this in secret.
But that's terrorism.
Yes.
Isn't it? You do it in secret so that you're not caught, and then when you've done it, you say, I did that.
Yeah, but again, I'd argue what's the purpose of this terrorism?
No, well, see, now you had me arguing for the show, and I already told you that the show is incomprehensible nonsense. What's the plot of the second one?
The plot of the second one, which is Blackout, is that basically they're in Japan, and Venom have contracted a scientist to build a new vehicle for them, which hovers and can collect electricity and store it, and then release it as a high-powered electricity beam. And that's their plan.
Do you see? I haven't even listened to you telling me the plot right there. I cannot physically take in that plot. So now I'm not going to, and we're going to move on. Do you agree?
There's some points in this I want to raise about these episodes.
Okay, I just won't take part.
Okay. I mean, the first one, and it's a little line from Sato, which I think illustrates his character. They're talking about basically his truck disappearing from nowhere and people smoke bombs, and this is all the magic show that Miles Mayhem puts on to misdirection so he can steal this truck. And Sato goes, an illusion is little more than a theft from the eye. Which is true, but...
It's true. That's what you're telling me right now. It's true. Oh, wow.
There's another bit where basically they have an earthquake goes off in Central City, I think they call it.
Did they use an earthquake machine for that?
They did use the earthquake machine for that. But basically, a woman is hanging on a gantry with her daughter, and rather than chase Venom, there's 8 of them. Matt just goes, Bruce, Brad, Alex, Gloria, help that woman. Why do you need 4 of you?
Because their masks are terrible. Because the masks have such limited powers, it takes 4 different powers in order to secure those people, and even then, it's a pretty shoddy rescue.
But this is the thing, because the first thing to do is go, okay, aura, so that gets rid of electricity cables. Then you use teleport to lift them down. Well, why didn't you just use that to lift them down anyway? They send one guy alone off to chase Venom, and he gets hidden under a massive pile of girders, which then, rather than lifting out of the way, they disintegrate one by one.
I put it to you, they are not invested in catching Venom.
No.
Or stopping Venom.
But this episode really shows that, because at the end of the episode, they're getting away, and Matt goes, we'll get them next time. We need to sort out this plutonium.
Exactly. They're on some kind of kickback scheme where their organisation can only keep going as long as Venom keep going. And so rather than catch them, they're just like, oh yeah, no, got away again. We need a bit more funding, keep us going. Bit more funding, keep us going another week. Don't worry about it. We'll catch them eventually. Very tricky business. Very tricky business. The masks only do one thing. We made them that way, but they only do one thing. It's not easy.
I mean, what is Matt Tracker's motivation in this? There's a bit in this episode where, because of the earthquake, basically T-Bob jumps in the lake, because T-Bob and his son Scott are at a lake house with a strange man.
Whoa, right. I was waiting to get on to T-Bob and Scott. Right? We need to talk about them.
We'll talk about T-Bob in a second.
Okay.
I just want to talk about Matt first.
Matt.
Because, so T-Bob jumps in the lake, and there's no water left in the lake. And
Of course.
Scott calls his dad and goes, the lake's gone. And his dad's response is, well, try to make the best of it.
Yeah. I put it to you, the real villain here is Matt Tracker.
Matt Tracker.
Not only because he's a boring arsehole, which I do think is the ultimate crime, but also because he doesn't give a shit for his son, does he?
No. He's constantly... Why is he bringing us... Like, this one is like, okay, I'm dropping you off somewhere nearby. The other episode we watched, we're going to Japan. Oh, so we can ride the bullet train you invested in. Yes, and also because I need to catch Venom.
Because
so
I've got
come
an eye
with
on
me
Venom.
to fight these
Yeah,
terrorists.
Yeah, and in the first episode, he drops him off with a creepy old dude.
Yep.
And then the old dude encourages him to take off his clothes and go swimming in the lake.
Yep.
Right. Neither of those episodes is
Danger.
that son really getting looked after. Okay.
No.
And the moral that comes up at the end is wrong in both those episodes. It should be don't leave your son with strangers, right? Especially creepy old men who live in the woods. And don't take your son with you when you're going to fight a megalomaniac. Matt Tracker's the real megalomaniac. He's playing all the, he worked with Venom to make the masks. He's playing all the angles. He's orchestrating the whole thing. This is all he's doing, right? He's behind it all, I'm telling you, okay? He's behind it all. Why do you think that kid hasn't got a mum, right? He killed her.
Whoa!
She's under the...
Whoa! That's a leap.
She's under the
floorboards.
Floorboards.
She's under the floorboards.
She's gone.
Of
She's not
M.A.S.K.
coming back.
HQ.
He doesn't spend the weekend with her. She's gone. I'm telling you right now. Venom didn't kill her. He's an ineffective, Miles Mayhem, ineffective. He didn't kill anyone either of these episodes. He's just fucking about. He wouldn't have anything if some bloke hadn't given him some fucking powerful masks, would he? Can we talk about T-Bob?
Let's talk about T-Bob.
Because...
What I need to ask, what were your first impressions of T-Bob coming on screen?
Huge disappointment. Because in the preamble, you sold T-Bob to me as something interesting. And what he actually is a sort of robot character who's far, far less interesting than, like... who's that one in the old space thing?
R2-D2.
No, for fuck's sake, I know R2-D2. Jesus Christ. Danger Will Robinson, that one.
Oh, Robbie the Robot.
Is that Robbie the Robot?
Yeah, that's Robbie the Robot.
I'm trusting you on that. I don't believe you.
That's Robbie the Robot.
Sure, okay. He's much less interesting than that. Or R2-D2. And R2-D2 can't even fucking talk. Right? Okay. Literally, this guy arrives. He looks like a bin. Right?
He looks like Dusty Bin.
He's an R2-D2 knockoff. He's with the sun, right? Right, your comic relief arrives, and it's Wesley Crusher in a bin. I mean, I was disappointed. I was disappointed.
He turns into a moped, though. A one-wheeled moped.
Yes. A wheel clicks out of his groin, and he becomes a moped.
His arms shrink in. And the thing I love about that is when his arms shrink into the side, and he's driving, he's also cross-eyed.
Yeah.
Like he's in pain.
Yes. He is cross-eyed. He doesn't look safe.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't let my kid on... again, the parental figure here is questionable, but I wouldn't let my kid on that.
I mean,
It also says something like he stuck his fingers in a socket or something. Like, why are you leaving him with a robot?
One. He says, like that time you stuck a fork in the toaster, T-Bob. Why is this robot doing that?
Why? Why would you leave your kid with this robot?
Who programs the robot for mischief?
Oh.
And then leaves it to do childcare?
T-Bob I think he's meant to be kind of, likeable.
I think he is meant to be likeable.
In the first episode, he was more looking after the kid with the paedophile. In the second episode, he's more part of the action, and there's some jeopardy there. Like, will T-Bob be okay? And I have written down, let the little bastard die. Because I gave not one solitary shit about T-Bob.
I think
He's not likeable, he's not funny.
No, not at all.
He's not He's not anything.
He's not at all.
None of these characters are anything.
I mean, the second episode particularly is just a vehicle for puns, and T-Bob the cross-eyed scooter.
Tell me your feelings on T-Bob.
T-Bob, I always remember as being a bit shit. And
He's shit.
Oh, he is. He's a shit robot.
That is it.
He may be the worst cartoon robot ever. And that's saying something.
Does he take part in all the morals?
Yes, I believe he does. I believe he takes part in all the morals.
So
the morals are the thing I really wanted you to see this for, and we didn't get to see the best ones. But the one for the second episode...
I'm sure we didn't.
The one for the second episode was fantastic.
If you haven't seen this show, imagine you're watching the worst episode of Transformers you've ever seen, and that's basically it, right? Except it's a bit worse. And then at the end comes up the young kid character with a shit robot, and they tell you something which is not even moral, really. It's like a piece of life advice that you didn't need. The first one is about jumping into deep water.
Yeah, basically they're lying on a dock, on this dock again where the lake has disappeared in the episode. And T-Bob goes, "It's so hot." He's a robot.
Yeah.
A, he shouldn't be jumping in water anyway. He'll short out.
Probably not, yeah.
And B, how does he feel temperature?
Well, I don't know, but he sticks forks in toasters, so you know what you say.
He goes to jump into the water,
yeah.
And Scott goes, "No, you shouldn't jump into water unless you know how deep it is." Matt comes up and goes, "I'd say that's 9 feet." He just eyeballs it. This is more terrible parenting.
No, about 9 feet.
About 9 feet. But just from eyeballing, from the top of the water down.
Which, if anybody's going to give you advice about water, they'd say, you can't tell how deep it is from outside of it.
Yeah.
That's the advice you get about deep water.
Yep.
You can't tell how deep it is. Don't go in. You can't tell how deep.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, that looks about 9 feet. Let's all jump in.
If the water
including a robot made of metal.
If the water looks about 9 feet deep, you're all right.
You'll be all right. Don't worry about it. You don't want to go jumping in any shallow water. Break your neck. Jump in the deepest water you can find. Brilliant morals from the programme M.A.S.K.
I mean, well, the one from the second episode really got me. So this is this is after they've been in Japan. There's been peril. There's been electricity flying around. There's been driving around. They've been firing lasers at each other, and suddenly you go to this end of after that. It's Scott out
idyllic street.
An idyllic street. He's on a little Sunday drive on his T-Bob the cross-eyed scooter.
You know he's on a Sunday drive because he's talking about Sunday driving.
Yes, he is. And I think T-Bob asked why they call it a Sunday drive, or why do we like to go for a Sunday drive?
Yes.
And Scott, quite philosophically, goes, well, I think people think of a Sunday as a sunny day, so they go for that.
You say philosophical, I'd say moronic.
Yeah, but closest we get to philosophy in this. But they're riding along, and some kids go past, and one of the kids is riding the bike. The other one is sitting on the front handlebars.
Yeah.
And standing on the front forks. And they hit a tiny little rock and they come off the bike. And Scott pulls up alongside them and rather than helping, just goes, one person to a bike only, and then drives off again.
Yeah. That's it. and they go, never ride two on a bike on your Sunday drive. And then the other one goes, it's only Saturday. What? 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 It doesn't mean anything. Scott. It doesn't mean anything.
Scott might as well just rolled up and gone, one on the bike at a time, idiot, and then driven off again.
Yeah, but what gets me, right, is I know that technically T-Bob is the bike, but they're like two on a bike.
Yeah,
There's two of them.
Yeah, two of them on one wheel.
On one wheel? You're riding two on a bike. Oh... incomprehensible nonsense. It is truly, truly dreadful.
This is one of the things I loved about this, is it always had these morals, and it was always after an episode of high destruction where it was like boom, boom, always look twice before crossing the street. But yeah, the morals aren't actually any. The advice is terrible because it shouldn't be that. Really, two people riding a bike at once crashing in the street should be: don't ride your bike in the street. Or make sure you're careful. Make sure you're wearing a helmet.
Don't ride on somebody else's handlebars.
Yeah, if someone crashes, stop and help them. Not drive past them on your moped and yell abuse at them. And then...
There are so many bike-related morals they could have gone with.
Yeah.
And never ride two on a bike on a Sunday is not one of them.
No, even though it's a Saturday.
Or on a Saturday.
But I remember from watching it, I remember T-Bob being a lot more clumsy. I only got a little bit of clumsiness in this one where he falls off a stack of barrels.
But the main impression I got from him was uselessness.
Yeah, he is pretty useless.
What has he been created for childcare? Because that seems to be his main function. In which case, he should be a lot better at it.
Oh no, he's a terrible childminder. Because when they're in Tokyo and they're at the airport, and Matt again pulls up this car, maybe 20 feet from Venom, and says, "Scott, T-Bob, hide in that hangar till I get back." The first thing they do is get out of the hangar and climb on a stack of barrels. That's not safe. What kind of moral guidance is T-Bob providing? Where is this child's mother?
I told you, she's dead under the patio. Right. I feel I've been very, very harsh on it. So I will, and, consequently you, because this is one of your favourites and you chose it. So I will say now, you were very accurate on that theme tune when you did a little preamble for us. And it is cool.
It is a cool theme tune, isn't it?
The theme tune, way cooler than the show deserves.
The opening credits with like the light grid and the wireframe landscape and everything.
Yeah.
And the synth.
The show's very heavy on a kind of hair metal soundtrack. All the incidental is pretty.
Crusaders working overtime, fighting crime.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. No, I did love the theme tune. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
And that's all you're getting, because I will not watch this show again.
I most definitely will. All 75 episodes are on YouTube, and I would urge you to go and watch them all, because that's definitely what I'm going to be doing. Because
I would urge you not to.
No, because I absolutely...
Please don't.
Okay, but it's that time. So, Liz, how do you like me now for M.A.S.K?
Not at all. But I have to say, I wouldn't have liked it then either.
No.
It's not my kind of thing. Is just I don't know, action without plot, and it wouldn't have been my kind of thing then. I think if you liked it then, you probably like it now. But if you haven't discovered this yet, and you're thinking of trying it as an adult, I really wouldn't bother.
Oh no, I would disagree completely.
I know you would. Go on, sell it to them.
If you didn't watch this as a kid, if you missed out on this absolute gem, do go back and watch it. Because like all great cartoons from the 80s, even in its a bit shitness, it is gold. If nothing else, go and watch the intro, because you can find the intro on YouTube as its own clip, and that song is amazing. But for me, this completely holds up, and I would go back and watch this right now.
You're about to,
if they did an HD remaster. In fact, there's one bit of trivia I'm going to tell you. They are planning, and it's currently, I think, planned to be produced, a movie around M.A.S.K.
Okay, that'll never happen.
It absolutely will.
No.
But there is. So 2015, Hollywood reported that Hasbro and Paramount were creating a movie universe combining various things together, including M.A.S.K, G.I. Joe, ROM, a few other things. And that basically, loads of people in the writer's room. And April last year, it was announced that it's going to be a live action movie directed by Felix Gary Gray, who has basically done music videos. Also directed Friday, directed the 2003 Italian Job, directed Straight Outta Compton in 2015, and directed Fast and Furious 8. Which is the 17th highest grossing film of all time. Now, I'm really excited because, Fast and Furious movies are, let's be honest, mindless, car-based craziness. And that's exactly what M.A.S.K in live action should be. So I really hope this comes to fruition.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath. But I really hope it does, for your sake, because I can see you're excited.
I am very excited.
I can see you're excited.
I've been grinning most of this episode.
Oh, bless your heart. Oh, I feel so bad. Well, we'll look forward to that. You know what? If that movie does happen, I'll go and see it with you.
Thank you.
That's how sure I am they won't. Are you writing that down?
I am absolutely writing that down.
Have I got to sign it in blood?
Yeah, that's it. That's an ironclad commitment. You've heard it here. But
Yeah.
But there we are. So that's episode 3, and that was my choice. So
My choice next time.
your choice next time. So, Liz.
I do know what it's going to be. Do you want me to tell you now?
I think so. I think I told you on the last episode what we were going to do for this one. So, do you want a drum roll?
Yeah, sure. I won't bother next time. That's a terrible drum roll. No, next episode, I am incredibly nervous, but also excited because this is, I would say, my favourite show from my childhood that I've never rewatched.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I think you can probably guess what it is because I've talked to you about it many times.
Mm-hmm.
Next episode, Spats.
Oh, you have talked about Spats many times, but this is interesting because I never watched this. I think as a kid.
Well, we'll see what you think of it then.
Yeah. All right. Well, join us next time where we'll be doing Spats. And again, thank you for joining us. Go and watch M.A.S.K.
This is a Standard Nerds podcast.